again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, and this is where you can get caught up on some of the latest news that is tied to our favorite team in the NFL, that, of course, being the Cleveland Browns. Thank you to everyone who has liked our previous episodes and to everyone who has subscribed to the channel. You can see we're back in the orange quarter zip after celebrating the crossing of 8,000 subscribers yesterday with the fit change, and we're already making a climb to 9,000. I got to go shopping again already. I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to the channel and all of the support that you show our little show right here on our YouTube channel. And then again, thank you to everybody who gets their comments down there in the viewer comment section, and to those of you who are members. The QR code, it's over there, Thank you so much for that as well. Now, coming up on today's show, joint practice day 2 was the biggest story of the day. That was until the Browns offense got a massive shot in the arm 5 hours after the workout ended. Quiet day today. It's an off day before the preseason game against the Eagles tomorrow. But I will tell you what we learned from the 2 joint practices. The offensive line seemed to hold its own against the Eagles over the last few days, but it's not getting the respect I think it deserves. And down in the viewer comments, does the league still have a chapped ass about Shedeur? We'll examine the issue, but first things first. Quinshon Judkins and Isaiah Bond will be Cleveland Browns. And they will be Cleveland Browns soon, I think. Let's start with Judkins because both of them had their charges dropped. This came out of nowhere late yesterday afternoon when the NFL announced that there was no video in the Judkins case, and some of the photos and things, the videos, the time frames were off, and no injuries were observed to the victim. And, they broke this whole thing down, and they said there was a delay in the report of the incident, which was problematic. The victim was alone on numerous occasions with the defendant, meaning Judkins, had the ability and resources to make the report without his knowledge, but chose not to do so. So for those reasons, there is no reasonable likelihood of conviction, and this case is being declined. And so now, Judkins could still face disciplinary action from the NFL for violation of the league's personal conduct policy. Because remember, even though he's not under contract with the Browns yet, he's still essentially under the umbrella of the NFL and the Browns. I mean, basically the Browns have his rights is what it comes down to. So he could still be punished. But based on what came out of the investigation, in my opinion, I don't know if this warrants a suspension. I don't know. I think he'll. This is my opinion. I don't think it just based on everything that they said here, but we don't know. So we'll see what the NFL does, and then the Browns could give him a suspension on top of that. They also have to work out the contract. That should be somewhat easier because the rookie scale, and I'm sure he may have lost out on some guaranteed money, but they should be able to get that worked out. But the most important part of this is the charges are dropped. He can move forward with his NFL career. The NFL lets him know if they're going to suspend him for violating the policy, and then the Browns will let him know if they're going to add anything to the NFL's punishment. But Quinshon Judkins will be a Browns. And then it was not long after that we find out the sexual assault charges against a former Texas wide receiver, Isaiah Bond. They were dropped. It has been billed no billed, and he faces no other criminal charges. And then immediately he said, "Yeah, I'm going to the Browns." And so he was very happy with came down to the Browns just did they vetted him, And he was really happy. He said, I'm glad the Browns were believed in me, and he's grateful for the decision of the prosecuting courts not to pursue charges. Man, this was a highly touted prospect coming out last year, and everybody passed on him because of these legal issues. But the Browns they visited him at the combine. They had him at the top 30 invite. They brought him here. They really, really liked him. And so they stuck with him. And Isaiah Bond, right out of the gates, I'm going to Cleveland. So remember, he's in his lone season at Texas, he caught 34 passes for 540 yards. He had 65 catches for 888 yards and 5 touchdowns with Alabama. He also had 5 touchdowns with Texas, but he caught remember that 31-yard pass from Milroe on 4th down, I think it was. But Bond's a player, man. So holy moly, you get Judkins and Bond now added to this offense, and so it might take them a little bit of time to get going. But wow, how quickly have like this off season, this training camp, like it has been just one surprise after another. And this one both of these just came out of nowhere. And for once, the Browns are going to benefit from it. So it's good that all of these legal proceedings were vetted. They took their time with their investigations, got all of the information together, collected everything, got it together, and the decisions came in, and charges dropped across the board. And now Judkins and Bond are on their way to Cleveland. Now, that overtook day 2 of the joint practices. Here's today there's nothing going on. They're off today. And so there'll be no availability. You won't hear from anybody because tomorrow's the game, the preseason game against the Eagles at 1 o'clock. And then Sunday, Kevin Stefanski will be available, but there won't be much going on Sunday. But the joint practice then, okay, so that ends. And Jason Kelsey was out there. Well, he watched both practices. Travis's buddy in Cleveland. They're from Cleveland Heights. So he's probably checking out the Browns as he is, his old team, the Eagles. But the practice was shorter yesterday, and here's what came out of it. Joe Flacco, Stefanski said there is no chance he's playing tomorrow. So Flacco is off the board. What's going to happen is Gabriel's going to start, is what's going to happen. This is going to be the same scenario we had last week. Instead, we'll have Dylan Gabriel playing the role of Shedeur Sanders. So he'll play probably the first half and into the third quarter. And then Snoop-a-loop. You ever see Old School? Wear that green hat. We're going streaking in the quad. Snoop-a-loop. Snoop Huntley will take over at some point because Pickett, he says he's turning a corner, but he's not there yet. He started running a little bit the other day. And Shedeur, all they keep saying is unlikely to play, which I think he is not playing, folks. He dressed yesterday and didn't even touch a football. He just stood around and watched, didn't participate in anything. The way Stefanski said it, he says he'll be put down for a little bit with his oblique strain. And, it is what it is. He's got to get healthy. So they're basically down to Flacco is healthy. Gabriel, I guess, is healthy again. I guess his hamstring is better. And then you got Huntley. Huntley's just the medical emergency. So the other thing that came out of practice, the defense just keeps balling out. The offense looked better. But Denzel Ward had himself a couple of days. He just continues to look like Denzel Ward. But back to the quarterbacks for a second. Here's the tracker. And Flacco, good day. Solid. 7 to 10, 2 touchdowns. But then there's Dylan Gabriel. 1 for 5 and a touch. He had one drop. Deontay Johnson had it bounce off his hands and it was picked off. There's a penalty. The whole play was a mess, but it should have been a catch. So, we'll give him his flowers on that one. But, again, we are now sitting, 7 for 24 over the 2 days? Because was he 6 for 19 the day before? So, 7 for 24 over the course of the 2 joint practices for Dylan Gabriel. So what do we learn from all this? Well, I don't know what to make of Gabriel. I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing, yeah, okay, yeah, he had some passes dropped. I get it. But 7 for 19, and I'm hearing there's still passes being batted down. All of that, you know. But it's gonna be. That's why we need this tomorrow. We need to be able to see him out there playing on a on consecutive drives and see how he handles. See if he handles the adversity like Shedeur did last week. I mean, Shedeur set the bar, and so we're gonna have to see what happens. But what we learned is this: the defense will carry this team, especially early on in the season. So many reports, so much talk of Myles Garrett essentially living in the backfield. He could have. There were reports that he could have sacked Jalen Hurts on almost every play, but he just he let up because they weren't doing tackling. There was no live tackling. Mason Graham, 5 stars apparently going against the Eagles' number one off the offensive line. I mean, this is the best offensive line in football. We're gonna hear more about that in a minute. But this defense showed up and showed out against the Super Bowl champs. And they will carry this team early on and let the offense get these guys back, Judkins and Bond and these guys, let these guys start, let these guys gel a little bit, get these guys in there. Look out, folks. I'm telling you, man, my over 6.5 bet, cash it. Cash it today, baby. That's what I say. Here's the other thing we learned. If Flacco keeps the turnovers down, they will move the ball. And you saw it yesterday. I mean, he was slinging it, got Fannin involved. Fannin and Njoku, I'm telling you guys, get on your fantasy teams. Especially if Flacco, in the beginning of the year, if he's going to be QB1. They just need to say it. Because, I mean, there's no time for anybody else to get ready. So, with all this time missed. So, Flacco, they just need to come out and say it. Hopefully, it'll be Monday. But with Flacco, remember what Njoku, we showed you what Njoku did with him, but him and Fannin, they're doing gadget plays with Fannin. Fannin's going to be involved in this offense, but him, Njoku, and Judy, the 3 of them at least, and now you get Judkins and Sampson back. Whoa, now we're talking. We got the offense back, and now you got Bond too. Are you kidding me? So yeah, we'll be able to move the ball if Flacco keeps the turnovers down, especially those critical spots. We don't need those. I call them quality interceptions the other day. Those critical spots. If we could just avoid those, the ball's going to move. Points are going up on the board. Another thing we learned is we have to catch the ball. Too many drops. We had 9 or 10 drops over the last couple of days, and we're just not good enough yet to overcome those drops. Those things, those are drive killers, and we have to hold on to the ball, man. And so that's going to be a big part of this. So if they can hang on to the ball, just make the simple plays. Make the simple plays, move that ball downfield. Take what the defense is giving you. That's going to be huge. And then something Grant Delpit said is something that this is what we learned. We learned that this should be a big confidence boost for this team, what they did against the Eagles the past couple of days, especially yesterday, because I think they had to get used to kind of the speed and the intensity, because, everything's amped up. That's why they do these joint practices. These are the games. These are the preseason games. The actual preseason games are more for the younger guys and the backups. They use those to sort out, who's going to be filling in and backing up. So that's where these preseason games are. And these joint practices, that's where they cut teeth. And so, no, Delpit said it was great, to go up against the Super Bowl champs. And he saw it as the couple of days went on, that the whole team, not just the rookies, the whole team just building confidence. And so that's what we learned, folks. So let's see how they apply it starting tomorrow afternoon. Now, we mentioned the offensive line, and they did. They held their own against the Eagles, the Super Bowl champs, and but there's somebody who doesn't think that they're going to be any good this year, and I can disagree anymore. But this is Brandon Anderson of Action Network. I've heard of Action Network. He says he put together these tiers, the different offensive lines, and now here's one thing I agree with him. He's got the Eagles all alone. They were number 2 last year on his poll. You see the number next to team. That's where they were last year. The number to the left is where they are this year, but they're alone at the top. The Eagles have the best offensive line in the NFL, and that's tough to argue. And then you see the Browns down there in tier 5 at 23. They were 4 last year. They're in there with the Steelers. The Steelers at 19, but they were not. They were also top 10. They're down to 19 from being 9. And now you got the Cowboys. They stayed the same. The Raiders, they dropped a little, and the Cardinals, they actually moved up a few spots. And there's the Brownies. They went from 4 to 23. And Mr. Brandon says the reason that happened is because the line is just old. And he said that Bitonio and Wyatt Teller should bounce back this year. And the Browns did add some decent depth pieces, which, yes, I agree with Jenkins. And we got some depth. Don't forget now we got DeJuan Jones at left tackle. But this is a far cry from the dominant line it once was. And what I say to that, Mr. Brandon Anderson of Action Network, wrong. Listen. Just talked about. This is a revamped offensive line. Bitonio came back because of the wide zone offense. This offensive line is built for the offense that we are running this year, not the craziness that we've been trying the last few years with Watson and this whole spread it out, open it up, throw it 52 times. Not going to see that anymore. This is going to be a balanced attack with a lot of play action, and you're going to run this, going to stretch it out, and then a lot of cutbacks. This line is built for that. So, Mr. Brandon, do a little research. Like you got to look into this stuff, Mr. Brandon. And so that's the difference with the Browns' offensive line this year. So you could take that 23 and move them right back up to 4. You got time. Get out your eraser. You can fix that because this offensive line, you know what? It's fine. Leave us at 23 and let us just surprise everybody because I don't think anybody's ready for what's coming at them with this offensive line. And now this revamped offense with getting Judkins and Bond involved. Oh, my goodness. And then the defense going nuts on the other side. Telling you folks, start getting excited. The Brownies are back, baby. Now, the Eagles' offensive line, I said, I'll give that, alone at the top. Also alone at the top, the viewer comments. And today we'll start with Maurice Mason, and then he turns it into a password. #XX6VI. But Maurice Mason says, if Gabriel plays well, the team's morale will reflect that. If not, it's going to be a long day. And that's one of the things we talked about with Shedeur, that you saw that last week. Like he elevated the play of all the guys around him. Remember we talked about how like Jordan and Kobe and these guys, like they made everybody else on the team better. And you kind of sensed that last week because Shedeur was playing with 2s and 3s, but still here they are up and down the field, getting points on the board, executing in and out of the huddle, no penalties, like the whole thing. We got to see if we see that tomorrow, and we'll give you a list of things to look for on tomorrow's show. But this is one of them to see, get a sense of where the morale is on that team, and just are they being elevated like they were? Shedeur set the bar, and he set it high. Speaking of Shedeur, Frank Joseph says there's talk on another channel about the NFL being pissed at Sanders. Now, I don't know if we're talking I think I know what you're talking about, Frank, because I saw a reporter talking about how around the league, the general consensus is we're not impressed with what Shedeur did last Friday. And I'm like, what? Like, how could they even say that? And they're talking about all the same stupid, petty stuff that he didn't do in that game. But he held on to the ball too long. And like, what are you talking about? And so I don't understand why everybody, these people around the league I understand why they have a chapped ass. It's because they didn't take them. And we did, and we got them, and they know they missed out now because they know they blew it. So they're going to try to justify, they're going to just keep dying on this hill that Shedeur can't play in the league, and they are absolutely wrong. And so that's why I cannot wait till tomorrow to see. I'm almost excited to see Gabriel play as I was to see Shedeur play, but for completely different reasons. Because the bar is up here after what Shedeur did. If he doesn't get anywhere close to this, you gotta Shedeur's QB2, bottom line. That's what you're watching tomorrow. Skunk Bud, great YouTube handle, Skunk Bud, says Flacco has sucked since he won the Super Bowl. His whole career is streaky. 5 good games, 12 bad games. He is awful. And you clowns keep acting like a 40-year-old quarterback is the answer. It's what makes the Browns a joke. Now listen, Skunk Bud, I appreciate the take. But here's the thing. If Flacco is good for 5 games and then bad for 12, this lines up perfectly because he's going to start like the first 5 games. And then once he goes in the tank on the 6th game, now we're going to win that game because it's Pittsburgh. So, because they stink. So it doesn't matter how bad Flacco plays. We're still beating Pittsburgh. So those 6 games, Flacco will be fine. And then if he starts having trouble, he throws a couple interceptions in the 7th game, we'll get him out and we're good to go. So that's my theory on that. Flacco's not a typical 40-year-old quarterback. I mean, he's in shape. And he remember he said last week, he said, I wish the practices were 3 hours long so I could show everybody I could go 3 hours long in a practice. So he feels he's ready. He's looked locked in. He had another great day yesterday. So this is what we're running with, Skunk Bud, because everybody else is hurt. So we're going to roll with it, but Flacco will not play at all, and that tells you everything you need to know about who's quarterback one. Flacco is not playing, and it was like, no, he is not playing tomorrow out of Stefanski. So, hey, believe land, Skunk Bud. This is believe land. You got to believe in Joe Flacco. Norshek, and the number 2, Norshek 2, says, hope the best for Dylan and Kenny. But it is all about 12. He will learn what he needs to do as a pro as far as warming up, his hip work, etc. Yeah, these injuries are head-scratching. Like, what is going on? Like, the Browns right now look like the Cavs when the Cavs get into playoffs and then everybody gets hurt. Like, they run the regular season, get to the playoffs, and everybody gets hurt. Like, we get through OTAs and everything, and then we get to training camp, and then everybody gets hurt right before the preseason. Like, that might be something they need to look at, man. These soft tissue injuries, geez, oh man, I can't remember a season like this. Remember we started with 4 quarterbacks. Everybody was cracking on us because we had so many quarterbacks. Yeah, now we're down to like 1.5. That's where we're at. Well, 2, I guess 2.5 because Gabriel's back. So, but I don't know if he's full strength. So maybe he's only 3/4, and then Huntley's a half. So what does that leave us? What 2.25? Anyway, it's crazy how fast things change. We'll end on this. Digger, who says, I guess I'll be watching something else if Shedeur Sanders isn't going to play. No, Cran Digger. Okay, if you're not going to watch Dylan Gabriel, then here's what you do. Go back and watch all of the episodes of Brown's Latest on YouTube that you've missed. Or just go back and rewatch the ones you've already seen. Perfect Saturday afternoon, if you ask me. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you again for the 8,000 subscribers on our way to 9,000. Hey, it's going to be fun. We're going to break that tomorrow. We'll tell you all about what you should be paying attention to as this game plays out tomorrow afternoon. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Man, oh man, some good news to talk about finally with our Cleveland Browns. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Go Browns! We'll see you next time.